he is an experience. And when we were making the movie, we were trying to think of something to get the crew, because they needed something nice after working with him for that long. So we were trying to think of like, what could we get him? And then I realized, because I try to look on the bright side, that working with Oliver is like the Jurassic Park ride. I survived Oliver Stone shirts for the crew.
Oh, you had I survived Oliver. Oh, how did he like that? He didn't care that.
I don't think so.
Hi, besties. It's Katie Joy from Without a Crystal Ball. Listen, this is an exclusive, and I'm only doing this video because what I just saw in court is completely the most perjurious, lie-filled declaration I have ever seen in my life. And I know it is perjurious, and I know perjury was committed here, at least in my opinion, by James Vituscka, who worked for the Daily Mail and was fired by the Daily Mail, not because of Melissa Nathan and Brian Friedman, but because of his own behavior and what he did in the process and the various lies that he spun to everyone about what happened. Because after months of everyone forgetting about his declaration, he now has filed a new declaration to clear the record. And this time, after being pro Baldoni and Nathan for the entirety, he suddenly is anti-Melissa Nathan and Brian Friedman, and he's changing his story yet again. But I have receipts, and I have a lot of receipts, and it's astounding that James would do this, knowing what he has sent to so many people. I know for a fact I was not the only one that received information from him. And to be clear, this is a very important point. James reached out to me and he did not tell anyone that he was speaking to me. No one at Wayfair, no one at the Wayfair legal team, nothing. He reached out to me and spoke to me when I don't know why he did, but he shared a lot of information with me about what Leslie Sloane allegedly told him. I have documents and PDFs of emails between him and his attorneys with Leslie, and everything that went down with this declaration and before. And for him to frame it now as though the fault is squarely lying on Friedman and Nathan is false. It's just completely outside of the scope of everything he told everyone, and even outside of the discovery he provided to Wayfair. This is provably false. So I want to read you his declaration, which is being filed for what purpose, I don't know. He wrote, "I am a journalist formerly employed by the Daily Mail. My responsibilities include cultivating sources in the entertainment industry, securing exclusives, and reporting accurately on matters of public interest. I was thrust into the center of this consolidated lawsuit by the complaint filed by the Wayfair parties and their attorney, Brian Friedman. I was the Daily Mail reporter that authored the text messages which appeared in paragraph 193 of the Wayfair parties' amended complaint, a complaint that has now been dismissed." And he actually was not thrust into this because of their lawsuit. He reached out to Melissa and put himself in this position. "I signed a declaration that was submitted to the court on June 5th, which, while true, the initial declaration did not include everything I wished to say. Before signing the initial declaration, I repeatedly raised to my former employer, the Daily Mail, that I wished to provide additional important information and evidence. However, the Daily Mail did not allow me to do so or with my initial declaration. The initial declaration was prepared and presented to me under intense pressure. The attorneys who purported to represent me in drafting the initial declaration were appointed by my then employer, the Daily Mail. I was implored to go along with their draft and legal framing under the threat that failure to cooperate would jeopardize my job and legal standing. That document appears to have been part of a coordinated effort to sanitize and reinforce a falsehood. While my initial declaration itself was not false, it did not tell the whole story. I have since been terminated by Daily Mail after filing a whistleblower report regarding the declaration, and I believe my termination was retaliatory, tied to my whistleblowing. Having severed ties with Daily Mail, I wish to further explain my communications with Leslie Sloan, Melissa Nathan, and Brian Friedman. I believe that my sharing the full context of these communications is necessary for the court and the public to understand the truth. In both the original and amended complaints filed by the Wayfair parties, Mr. Freeman, I'm described as having said that Leslie Sloan, Blake Lively's longtime publicist, told me that Miss Lively, claimed Mr. Baldoni had sexually assaulted her. That allegation is false. I never heard Leslie Sloan make any such statement whatsoever, and I never said she did to anyone. It was in his text message. That was in the evidence. In my initial declaration, I said that I was the Daily Mail reporter that authored the text messages that appear at paragraph 193 in the case. I said my use of the term sexually assaulted in that text message was a mistake and that I meant to say sexually harassed. I also said that Miss Sloan never told me that Miss Lively was sexually harassed or sexually assaulted. I stated that the Wayfair parties and their counsel did not consult me about what I meant by the use of the term. I believe the impression that it was left by my initial declaration was that I mistakenly told Miss Nathan and Mr. Freeman that Miss Sloan had told me that Miss Lively was sexually essayed. This is not accurate. What the initial declaration did not convey is that following important details, I expressly told Melissa Nathan and Brian Friedman in text messages on December 25th that Leslie Sloan never told me that Miss Lively was essayed or SH'd. My text exchanges with them are attached, and those text exchanges were in their lawsuit. Yet I have come to understand that the Wayfair party's defamation lawsuit against Miss Sloan and Miss Lively was based in part on the allegation that Miss Sloan told me that Miss Lively was essayed by Mr. Baldoni. Not only did that never happen, I told Miss Nathan and Mr. Friedman in writing on December 25th, 2024, it never happened. I was shocked when I learned that these allegations in the amended complaint were based on the statement that were made after I had been very clear about that with both Miss Nathan and Mr. Friedman. To summarize unequivocally, she never told me that Miss Lively SH'd or essayed by Justin Baldoni or anyone else. Miss Nathan and Brian Friedman knew of this on Christmas. By filing a lawsuit based on falsely casting me as the source of essay allegations, Mr. Friedman, his clients, and those apparently aligned or acting in concert with them have caused immense harm and I believe misled this court. They have damaged my reputation, cost me my employment, and undermined my career as a journalist. I submit this declaration to ensure that the court and the parties have a complete record of knowledge and that my name is not further misused in service of a false narrative of those who conceived it. I declare this under the penalty of perjury. You know, he might regret that. And it's, by the way, not notarized. He didn't notarize that declaration. So he now wants the court to believe that it's Mr. Friedman and Miss Nathan who have misled the court, and it's their fault that they misconstrued his own words that he stated in a text message that was listed in the lawsuit of what he had said, and that he never said that, even though he said it in a text message. But I think what's most egregious here is that now he is blaming Brian Friedman and Melissa Nathan for causing him to lose his job, which is just categorically false. And I know because he sent me all the text messages to prove it. In late May of 2025, Mr. Vituscka reached out to me. And over the series of about, 6 weeks, he and I communicated. And I haven't had much communication with him in more than a month. And that is because it became clear to me that James was inconsistent with his statements. And it was clear to me that James was, depending on who he was mad at the time, blaming whoever he was mad at the time for losing his job. But what I can say unequivocally is that when James was in conversations with the Daily Mail and the emails that he submitted and sent to me via email, he told the Daily Mail and he told the Wayfair parties that Leslie Sloan defamed Justin Baldoni. He created a PDF, which he had sent to me. And on one of the pages, he shared this that was highlighted in blue. And it says, Daily Mail started a smear campaign against Baldoni in August 24. I told this to my former counsel during our talks many times. I also sent this to them. It was ignored every time. This info would have been used to prove Sloan did defame Baldoni. By forcing me to sign a declaration, Sloan knew she would get dismissed from the case, and my attorneys knew it as well. Whenever I tried to do Blake articles on Blake Lively to reveal the truth in December, I was shot down. It was almost as if Blake's people were coercing us to not. My reporting kept being ignored. He then copied an email he sent to his editor at the Daily Mail about information he had, about how he had a smoking gun, how he knew the truth. But that says that Leslie Sloan was framing it and defaming them, not Wayfair misrepresenting him. And then he wrote on another page, in August 24, I heard that Blake Lively was difficult on the set of It Ends With Us from chatter in my newsroom. Being that I had a working relationship with Leslie Sloan, who had always been hot and cold with her info, I went to her directly for source information. Sloan often gave me source info, and 99% of the time it was defamatory, aimed at celebrities that were going against her clients, which included Katie Holmes, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Lindsay Lohan, and Chris Rock. During our conversations in August 24, she supplied me with info that was extremely pro-Blake and anti-Baldoni. In hindsight, this info was incorrect, as facts in the case have revealed. Nonetheless, Daily Mail published several exclusive using Sloan's info. On August 8th, I had heard through chatter in the newsroom that Blake was difficult. I asked to get reporting on this, and so I contacted my source, Lively, Leslie Sloan. He then sent me a copy of the emails that he sent to his editors after he got off the phone with Sloan. According to the email he sent me, it was sent on August 8th of 24. And it says, the real reason the cast of It Ends With Us shut out star Justin Baldoni. I was assured that it won't get out there anywhere, and I was asked to hold it so that it does not overshadow the PR tour, which is the same reason no one is saying anything right now. They do not want to press the film to be about him, which is why they're speaking out until after this PR tour is over. And they said this has nothing to do with Blake, but the way that Justin treated everyone on the film. He plays a dark character and is brilliant, but the people are beginning to wonder if this is life imitating art. Blake and Colleen worked tirelessly and endlessly on this project. This is Colleen's story about her mother. The film is about abuse, and so for a man to try to control the narrative about abuse of a woman is not acceptable. It is the same as if the government would try to tell a woman what to do with their bodies. Not acceptable. This film has sex scenes, so for a man to direct a film involving intimate sex scenes with a woman without allowing the woman to have a voice or input is unacceptable. You cannot direct a film that is so personal about a woman dealing with an abusive man without knowing and allowing the woman involved to have a say. He took control and insisted that they do things his way. That angered everyone collectively. Parts of the film were rewritten. They had to be, because it needed to be. And they were rewritten under the instruction of Colleen, who has every right since it's her story. There is no love lost for Justin from the cast on this film, and he will not be getting any praise from them. His acting in the film was phenomenal, and there's no denying this. No one will be able to take this from him. He may very well be nominated for an award, but the issues that arose from his directing a film so serious and so important about domestic abuse without allowing the woman to be included in the process is disturbing. After the promotion and PR for the film is over, this will be talked about, but no one wants to take away the brilliance of the film by making this about him. This is likely what he would want, but they are not about to allow this to happen. This is why no one will say a word about it. Nothing will be said until the PR tour is completed. Blake and the others in the film have been promoting this for months. Justin, on the other hand, has been allowing them to do this while doing as little as possible. That's apparently what he sent to his editors on August 8th of 2024. And then he listed multiple stories that they used his reporting on from that information, which included It Ends With Us, A Feud, 4 different hyperlinks. And it was that the narrative was that Baldoni was the problem on the set. This was provided to me, and he told me he gave this to Wayfair, so I don't know. Maybe they have this. He also sent me an email that he had received directly from his HR department about why he got the Daily Mail, apparently, which said, and this is apparently from someone at HR, we had you being named in your text messages appearing in a lawsuit launched by Justin Baldoni against Blake. That led to stories appearing in other publications that were damaging to our reputation. We were all relieved that you since managed to remove your name from the lawsuit, but it would be remiss of you to put yourself and us in such an embarrassing situation. I was glad to hear that you have learned your lessons from what's happened recently and that you will modify your behavior accordingly. It's important that you do, and I hope that you have no reason to have such a conversation with you in the future. Their issue was not that he was in the lawsuit. It was that, ethically speaking, he placed himself in the middle of a lawsuit when he was supposed to be a neutral journalist. And by reaching out to the attorneys on the side of Baldoni, he was not being neutral. And he was also showing source information to Wayfair that, generally speaking, they would not agree with Daily Mail because it will make Leslie Sloan less likely to give them any information. Because if you reveal your source, our other source is going to come forward. And then in a separate section of the same PDF that he sent me, this is how he framed the case that was dismissed. Sloan used my info to mislead the court and have the case dismissed. This is all explained on pages 90 and 105 of the judge's dismissal, which came 2 days after my declaration. I was framed, blamed, and made a scapegoat by my company, Sloan, and the media. Sloan's statement below implies that I lied by saying that she was assaulted, and now she is vindicated by my declarations, which she pulled apart and used specific lines to her advantage. She knew that this was a lie and misleading, and I consider it defamatory and part of a smear campaign against me. Because in Baldoni's initial complaint, which she received and pulled my text messages from, I clearly state never once did she ever say anything about sexual assault. This is the above screenshot to the right, circled in green and underlined. I repeated that twice in the convo I had with Friedman and Nathan. This means that she also knew that Friedman knew this and used it against him as well, not giving him the chance to correct his small error of including Sloan said assault based on my text with Nathan. She twisted my words and spun this to mislead the court, change the outcome of the case, also portray me as a liar so that any evidence that I have against her will, which I do, will be considered unreliable. She wanted the press to run with me being a liar so that also I was the reason the case was dismissed. He also shared with me emails that he had with the inside counsel with Daily Mail, where he told them that Sloan is doing this so that she can get out of a lawsuit that Stephanie Jones created. And that is that a woman falsely accused a man of sexual harassment, knowing that this did not occur and also knowing that it would destroy his life. She did this to save her own reputation, which was tarnished by her own doing. Sloan played into this by feeding me false information to try to save her client. Sloan is a liar. And if I were to agree to these terms, all I would do is paint me as dishonest. It would also throw Nathan, Abel, and Baldoni under the bus, and that is not something that I'm willing to do. Not when they are the victims here. What Lively tried to do to Taylor Swift is disgusting. She tried to extort the godmother of her children to save herself from an image tarnished by her own actions, and lied about Swift's involvement. Swift's father, Scott, stopped Lively's extortion attempt to his daughter. I broke the exclusive this week. Swift's rep, Tree Payne, is my source, and I'm very close with Tree. It will all come out in the wash. In the end, I need to be on the right side of it. So he's saying Sloan is a liar. He's saying he doesn't want to drive the bus over Baldoni. That's in emails when they're talking about this declaration. And he is saying stuff about Tree giving him information about Scott Swift, talking to Friedman and extortion and Taylor. He shared another email that says, to be clear, I have no intention of taking any steps that would go against the Wayfair parties or undermining their case. They have been falsely accused of a smear campaign. If one had occurred, I would have been involved, but it didn't happen. That's why I felt strongly about helping Friedman defend against this claim. Though Nathan is accused of orchestrating the smear, the reporting would have come through me, and it did not. Aside from my misuse of the term sexual assault, I meant harassment. I stand by every statement I made in the text to Friedman. I was extremely upset the screenshots were included without redaction as it impacted my personal career, reputation, and relationship with this company. While we're working to avoid a deposition, I want it known that I'm fully willing to testify. My account has not changed, and it will not change. I have no concerns about testifying. So he said that his account would never change, that it was not Wayfair's fault, it was Sloan's fault. And he blamed Wayfair for including his screenshots, even though he spoke to Friedman knowing full well that it could be used in their lawsuit. He says, my attorneys wanted me to say that I trusted Sloan and went to her for her because I trusted her. And he wrote, I think the line works because all it says is I've gone to her for information over the years. It does not say I relied on or trusted her, just that I've gone to her. I can't say she's not a liar because she is. I can't say the relationship has always been successful because it hasn't. And I can't say that she didn't smear Baldoni to me because she has multiple times. I would be lying if I said Miss Sloan wasn't a liar. I'm not vouching for the truth of what she said. I'm just saying I've gone to her. That's the extent of it because they wanted him to say in his declaration, apparently, that he used her as a sort. He said, and he sent a message and he said, if I include this one line, they will drop their subpoena against me. Mr. Vituscka regrets the private text messages were taken out of context and made public. He sent another email to his attorneys and his editors and all the people at Daily Mail. Let me be super clear. This is the reason both Leslie Sloan and Stephanie Jones are being sued. Stephanie took Jenny Abel's phone and she gave the text messages to Leslie Sloan. Leslie Sloan texted Melissa the same day. No subpoena issued yet, and she told her she saw the text from Jenny Abel's phone and she was going to sue Melissa. Leslie then tried to say this never happened and there is proof of this. Then they sliced up the text messages and took those out of context to show a smear campaign, but those texts were illegally given to Leslie from Stephanie without a subpoena. The BS subpoena they eventually showed was after the exchange between Melissa and Leslie, where Leslie said she saw the messages. This is why she's being sued. I am a scapegoat. Do you see anything in these texts when he's talking about the deposition with his team that he has anything against Wayfair or it's Wayfair's fault? No. In fact, he continued to double down in June to his employer. I believe the reason that Nathan and Friedman are aware of the evidence I have, specifically my correspondence with Sloan, is that it proves she smeared Baldoni. We unknowingly used her false information to create exclusives, not realizing at the time that she was lying. This information hasn't been made public yet. As you all know, I've talked about this many times. The events in question go back to August, and I made this clear to Friedman in the text messages with him and Melissa during our conversation in December before Wayfair filed their complaint. It was also illustrated in other texts between me and Sloan, which were also removed from the complaint when it was amended. I had Friedman amend it to remove me from the lawsuit. All that remained for me was one redacted text, the one with the word assault, admitting that there's an actual text of him saying, now she's saying assault. It's very wild to me. And I could go on for days because the amount of data he dumped in my inbox is astronomical. I have emails of strings between him and his attorneys at Daily Mail. I have emails between him and Mark Garagos. I have emails between him and his editors at Daily Mail, communications with him and Wayfair. And throughout the entirety of our conversations, he was adamant that it was Sloan that was doing this, and she was at fault, and Daily Mail was at fault. In fact, he wrote a draft of a declaration he wanted to file to me, and he said that he wrote a motion that he wanted his declaration withdrawn. And he told in this thing that he created, he said the declaration contains factual misstatements, misidentification of text referenced at page 193, misrepresentation of the source and intent of statements concerning alleged sexual assault, omission of exculpatory context and supporting communications, including texts where Ms. Vituscka explicitly stated that she had never said that, fabrications of regret language contrary to his documented protests. He was told by Daily Mail leadership, including his editor-in-chief, that he should sign it and get it over with or face job loss. These directives were corroborated by the head of HR, who emphasized the risk to the company and warned him that he would be fired. In fact, at one point he sent me that he inaccurately said number 6 of his first declaration was wrong because he said, I told my attorneys this was not accurate, and I told my bosses as well. Wayfair did not need me to consult or get my approval because the texts were with one of the people who was a party in the lawsuit. They also knew what I meant by sexually assaulted based on my text with them above. Again, I did not have to authorize them to use texts that Nathan was involved in. I told my previous counsel that I did not want to use regret again. They kept it in anyways. So his issue was that they didn't need permission to use it. And he didn't regret helping them. And he didn't regret trying to clear Justin's name. And now he regrets. He also even told his editors and shared with his emails that Leslie tried saying that she was losing clients all over this like issues, the lawsuits, and she begged him to put out a story on how she wasn't losing clients at all. And he shared the copy of what he was going to put out about her. He mentions that he shared an email from April 12th to someone at Daily Mail. I'm following up on your Stephanie Jones story. There are several things developing that I wanted to flag you on. The central one involves a subpoena she claims to have received in October. This is impossible. Here's why. She said she was subpoenaed for information in October. However, Leslie Sloan told Melissa Nathan via text that she had received the messages from Stephanie back in August. I've seen these texts. They are court docs. Jen also provided Stephanie with her cell in August. There's no record of this subpoena being requested through the courts. He was adamant that she was a defamer, Leslie. Leslie was a defamer. She ran smear campaigns. She ran smear campaigns for her clients, her targets of her clients. I don't know why he is lying now, other than to cover his own ass and backtrack from the fact that he did tell them at one point in time that Leslie did say that Blake was sexually harassed. And in fact, if you look at the emails that he sent to his editor, there's a few points in here that borderline discuss harassment. The film is about abuse, so for a man to try to control the narrative about a woman, it's not acceptable, implying heavily that a woman is being discriminated against because a man is covering the story about female abuse. It is the same as the government if they would try to tell women what to do with their bodies, implicating that a man directing a woman's film about female abuse is akin to the government taking abortion rights from people, which is sex discrimination. Sexual discrimination on a set is what Blake is suing for. This film has sex scenes, so for a man to direct a film involving intimate sex scenes with a woman without allowing the woman to have input is unacceptable, implying that he didn't have or give Blake consent, heavily implying that scenes that were filmed that were intimate in nature were done without consent by Blake, heavily implying sexual harassment or assault. So sure, she didn't say it outright, but she sure as shit implied it to him. And it doesn't matter if he didn't run it. That's what he told his editors and what he sent to me. So for now, him to flip the narrative and tell the court that it's Brian's fault after he told Brian back in June that it was Leslie's fault that he lost his job, Vituscka has a credibility problem. And who knows what the truth is in this case. Document subpoenas were provided by him to Wayfair. So Wayfair has all of these communications. He's an idiot if he's going to put this on the record, because all Wayfair has to do is look through their documents and see what he said to them via a document subpoena back in June. They'll see that he told them that it was Leslie that ran a smear campaign, that he would never turn on Wayfair, that he wasn't going to drive the bus over them. And now here he is changing direction and driving the bus over them after saying that it wasn't their fault. They didn't need to consult him and it was fine that those were in the lawsuit. James Vituscka is not a credible witness, clearly. And what he's doing now, I can't explain. It could be pressure from Sloan. It could be pressure from Blake and Ryan. It could be pressure for him needing to blame someone so that he can get severance from Daily Mail. But Daily Mail made clear to him the reason why he was fired was because he behaved unethically as a journalist and inserted himself in a lawsuit that he shouldn't have been involved in, and that he lacked neutrality. That was their biggest issue. It was important that the reporter not become part of the story, and it was important that the reporter be neutral in their reporting and not take a side, in which he had. And that's why they said it was ruining their reputation. And the fact that he exposed Leslie as his source to Friedman and to Nathan. So I don't know. That's all we've got for now, but James Vituscka is not being honest, and I have the receipts to prove it. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.